Good afternoon. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 45. I am JP Dinnell, and as always, I have Lucas with me. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm still sounding like what Leif would sound like if he was pocket-sized.
All right. So we actually, I don't know. We've got some really good questions. I got some good questions.
Yeah.
Well, after last week's episode, when we dove into dichotomy and leadership, and so what we want to do is we're going to do a full episode of Q&A. I know it's been a while since we've done one of those, so let's get after it. All right, first question is from Jordan Madkins 96. What is the best advice you've ever been given? And what's the best wholesale advice you have to anyone out there? What do you think he means by wholesale advice?
Advice that is...
To the masses? Bulk?
Yep, bulk to the masses, but also, like, free of nonsense, right? Like, if you were going to give one piece of advice to anybody, like, hey, here's a piece of wholesale advice, live your life by it, no frills, no markup, this is exactly what it is. What is that?
Okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, so what is the best advice you've ever been given? Man, I've had the opportunity to have received a lot of really, really good advice from my parents, aunts and uncles, grandparents, mentors in the SEAL teams, in the military, in business. Man, I'm just trying to think, like, if I was to pick one of those things, I think it goes back to the whole, like, premise around the mindset that my parents instilled into us. You can make excuses or you can make things happen. You can't do both. You know, that my parents taught us that. It's like, hey, you can talk or you can get to work.
Yep.
You can't do both. Like, get to work. And I think that would also be like the best wholesale advice I'd give to anybody out there is like, hey, you know, you can talk about it, which it's good to talk, to strategize, to think, but ultimately you actually have to go out there and do the work.
Yeah.
And, man, I just think not enough people actually want to do the work that's needed to be successful in life. A lot of people get complacent. The disease of victory creeps in really quick with people. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you're all hungry to like make things happen and go do all these things. Then all of a sudden you like start, you know, getting a little bit of success and then making some money. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can kind of do whatever. I can lay off the gas. It's like, no, actually that's the moment you should be pouring more fuel on the fire and pressing down on the gas and getting some more momentum. So for me, I always would watch my parents just keep working. And a lot of my family members are the same way, you know, my grandparents and aunts and uncles. So I think, you know, if I was to take one thing, it would go back to the whole, you can make excuses or you can make things happen. You can't do both. Yep. So to me, that means like, hey, you need to work and keep working, keep that momentum.
That's I always go back to the thing I was told is James 4:7-10. This is mine. I'll read it. I got it right here in the Christian Standard Bible. Submit yourselves to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hearts, sinners, and cleanse your hands, sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Be miserable and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to gloom. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will exalt you. Submit to God. Ask for forgiveness. Humble yourself. Like that trifecta. That's it. You want wholesale advice? You figure out how to do that on a daily basis. Yeah. Everything else kind of starts to fall into place.
I like it.
You ready for question number 2?
Yeah.
All right. This is from Josh Bean Bacon. That actually sounds like a nice dinner.
A little side dish.
A little bean bacon, yeah. How did your philosophy on life change once you became a Christian?
Man, that's a real deep one because I was about a year old. No, just I've been, I was raised in the church. I've literally been in church ever since I was born. And, I guess if you're saying when you officially became, I guess that's when I like dedicated my life to Christ, accepted salvation, got baptized. I was young, so I wouldn't say my philosophy on life really changed because it was all I knew. But to answer his question, I guess if I was, well, it's not answering his question because that would be my answer to his question.
Yeah.
But I could say, when I've recommitted my life
I was
and
gonna
or
say, yeah, when you took it more seriously.
When I took it more serious, yeah,
Right.
for sure. I would say the philosophy was just being more bold with my faith and looking at it from like a leadership aspect of like, if not me, then who? Like, we talk about that at Echelon Front. Like, if you're not going to step up and lead your family, who's going to? If you're not going to step up and lead your team at work, who's going to? If you're not going to build relationships with your coworkers, who's going to? If you're not going to build a relationship with your boss, who's going to? If you're not going to take some of the burden off your boss's plate so that he or she can be more strategic and lead you better, who's going to? It's like going back to that, if not you, then who? Like, who's going to actually do it? You need to take ownership. So when I got more serious, recommitted my life and was a little more bold with my faith, I would say that would probably be the philosophy change. It was like, hey, if I'm not going to lead somebody to Christ, who's going to? And it's on me. Like, and so that means I have to do it through my actions and how I live my life, which, puts a little more pressure on me, which is great, to make sure I'm doing the right things.
All right. Question number 3 from Lockhart, BJJ. Does everyone have to suffer to be a great leader?
No, not at all. Now, leadership is a skill set, and some people suffer as a leader because they have the burden of leadership. So I will say you can feel the burden of leadership, but if you use the laws of combat and the mindsets of victory that we teach at Echelon Front, you shouldn't be suffering at all. Because if you use those principles, those behaviors and tendencies that we teach, it helps you carry the burden better. It helps you lead better. It helps you build better relationships. It helps you improve your communication. It helps you detach from your emotions. It helps you delegate authority and responsibility down to your people. It helps you empower your people. So if you're doing all those things, you're not suffering. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but you shouldn't be suffering. If you're leading properly, you shouldn't be suffering.
Yeah, I wonder if this is less about suffering as a leader, more like suffering in general, right? Like Jordan Peterson asks, or asserts this kind of statement is that suffering is actually the most human thing that we do. It is the one thing that all humans have in common, is that we experience some kind of suffering. And I wonder if...
And it's all relative.
Yeah, I also wonder if there's something tied into this, that people who overcome significant suffering, if they become better leaders, like if suffering produces better leadership.
Yeah. So think about like all the physical and mental suffering my dad's dealt with the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, for sure. Losing his arm. And what was the compartment syndrome
in his leg, almost losing his leg. So when he is able to be fully healed from his leg and he's able to start doing some stuff more. Let's just say, he gets back in the gym because he's a very active guy.
Sure.
Boom. And he's in the gym and he's working out, and somebody who's overweight sees him working out with, he's missing an arm and his leg's all like just jacked up because it's all like scarred up and everything else like that. And they notice that and they see him working hard. He will have a greater ability to inspire somebody else to go work out versus someone like you or I. We walk in there, they're like, all right, these guys are like getting after it. They, like overall somewhat physically fit, and they're like working hard, and we know what we're doing. If you compare you and I to my dad, an older guy missing a limb with a massively scarred up leg, and he could literally be doing the same thing you and I are doing. Somebody who's insecure about working out or lifting, or they're overweight, they're going to feel more comfortable going and talking to him.
For sure.
And he's going to have a better ability to communicate to somebody that has some hardships physically.
Right.
Like someone's like, oh, I have this issue, and he can be like, yeah, I understand how you feel. Like, I've had to adapt everything in my life because of this, and this is what I've been doing. And, somebody's having like a super stressful day and they're depressed. He's like, yeah, I can understand how you feel. Like, I lost my arm. I felt like I lost my identity. And because I've always worked with my hands and in the kitchen and cooking and construction and everything like that. But what I recognize is like I had to just adapt things. And he always, recently, not that he hasn't, I'm saying not always, but I'm saying like recently we've been talking more about it, and he's just like he's like, I know I'm enduring these things, and it's, God's in control. It's all part of the plan, and, not blaming God.
That's a big thing, man.
It's a big thing. I'm sure might have been some thoughts that crept into his mind of like, hey, why are we doing this right now? Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking that thought. Like, hey, Lord, what am I missing? Could you?
I know you got a plan, but I'd like a little insight.
I'm not challenging you. Yeah. I'm just wanting a little insight. And so I think if you're looking at it from that aspect, if you're able to take your suffering and hardships and turn them into lessons that you can communicate to other people to have impact, then I think it could make you a great leader.
Yeah, I also wonder like how much, so, talking about the training aspect, we've got some buddies who go to the adaptive training facility that we've talked about, right, which is a special place for people who, have lost limbs or something like that. My buddy Nate, who was in a motorcycle accident, he's blind, lost a leg because of the motorcycle accident, because of loss of blood. He goes to the adaptive training facility. People see him working out, or they hear Nate's story, and they're really inspired. I also wonder if there's something to this idea that if you've been through some stuff, then the small stuff doesn't make you sweat the same way that other things do.
So I want to be very clear. I'm not comparing any of my hardships to your buddy Nate's.
Oh, no. I'm saying on the inspiration level, like Nate's there.
Well,
but
I want to put that disclaimer out before I say what I'm about to say.
Okay, yeah, right on.
I would say yes, and I can relate to that because when coming back from different deployments,
no doubt,
and I'm like, in my mind, I just like want to choke somebody that they're complaining about something stupid, and I'm like, you have zero to complain about, and that's where this saying that I've said in most of my trainings is, my worst day is somebody's dream.
No doubt,
it is a factual statement.
Yeah.
If you live in America, you can say my worst day is somebody's dream. And somebody's like, well, what if you're homeless? The homeless here in America do pretty well.
Yeah.
Go be homeless in a third world country.
Yeah. Go be homeless in Kenya.
No.
Yeah. Not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
And, just, it's unreal.
Yeah.
Like how good we have it here. And so I used to get really mad. And now I'm like much better at detaching from my emotions, and I don't say what's on my mind most of the time, and I dismiss it. And I'm like, well, you know what? And that's the biggest challenge for me, is having actually empathy for the person complaining and saying, you know what? I actually don't know what they're going through.
Right.
However, I could maybe shed some light to, and that's what I try to do with the positive. Like, when people are like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm so tired from work. I'm like, hey, I get it. But you know what I'm thankful for? Is having a job. I don't say you should be thankful for your job. I just say, hey, I get it. I'm just thankful I have a job. And I've legitimately had a 99% response rate of people going, that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm not saying, hey, you should be thankful for your job. I'd say, hey, I get it. I'm just thankful I have a job.
Yeah.
And so it's all relative.
Yeah. You're going to have to fix those spreadsheets because somebody didn't put a comma in the formula. And I know it's going to take you, it took you 5 minutes to find it or an hour to find it. And it's going to take you 25 minutes to print everything out. But while everything's printing out, go grab a cup of coffee. Yeah. It's all going to be okay. And the leader that does that instead of blowing their stack is somebody that typically has been through some stuff. So, all right. Coulter Kelly, can you share how you met Jesus?
We talked about that earlier. My parents had me in church. I remember going to a youth camp through Donnie Moore Ministries when I was in junior high, where I had an actual experience where I felt the presence of God, the Holy Spirit. And then, I've always had very vivid dreams.
Okay.
And which has been, just all circled around, I should say, focused around spiritual warfare, which has always been kind of crazy to have those dreams even from a very young age, and my parents trying to explain to me what was going on. And then, multiple times as an adult have felt the presence of God. And, when I went through Pursuit, and that was that big pivot again for me, it's just, seeing and experiencing the presence of God, and seeing other people feel that as well for the first time, and it's an undeniable thing. And I know that as a pastor, when you're able to preach and share that, and then when you see somebody that experiences that for the very first time, it's an undeniable thing. So yeah.
All right. The FMJ Training Center.
Yeah.
When will we see you guys in Sweden?
I don't know. That would be awesome. I would love to take a trip to Sweden. Jocko and I have talked about doing a trip to the UK, doing a full day workshop, or open for individual ticket sales. We were texting about that the other day. Based around his episode with Woody.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, bro, you want to go? Let's go.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So if you listen to the episode, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When Jocko's like, I want to be there. I'm like, I want to be there with you. And he goes, let's go. And I'm like, hey, why don't we do a full day leadership workshop where it's open for individual ticket sales that covers our travel, and then the rest of the profits we donate to a foundation over there. And he goes, that would be awesome.
How about the soldiers who were directly affected by this jackassery?
Yep.
100%.
Yeah.
Ian Bahamilton, we've friend of the show. What's your favorite Bible verse?
So Jeremiah 29:11. I've talked about this, but what I really like is if you push past. So when you push past Jeremiah 29:11 to 12 and 13. Sorry, hold on. Remind me later. Today's Bible. So I'm gonna pull it up and just read it all. The biggest thing for me is what I get from this scripture is just being intentional. And that's why I really like it. So, and I always grew up with my parents. My mom had this written in calligraphy because my mom used to do calligraphy, still does, and she would do Bible verses in calligraphy, and she would sell them to make a little extra money for her family here and there, and it was always cool. But Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not disaster, to give you a hope and a future. Number 12, in those days when you pray, I will listen. And then verse 13, if you look for me wholeheartedly, you will find me. Verse 14, I will be found by you, says the Lord. I will end your captivity and restore your fortunes. I will gather you out of the nations where I sent you, and I will bring you home again to your own land. So it kind of goes back to the whole suffering thing that we were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. And while we might not understand what's going on, I have to put my faith in God and just know that it's part of the plan. And I haven't suffered anything. If you really look at it, what suffering means and what other people are suffering, I have not suffered at all in my life. But it's just a good reminder of times when I might be frustrated or, something's going on. It's like, hey, I know God's plans are always there. He's in control. He reigns. There is no denying that. But also for me, it's a reminder of in those days when you pray, I will listen. So am I actually praying to God the proper way, or am I just complaining to him? Or am I just requesting stuff from him?
Yep.
Am I praying to him to develop a relationship deeper with him, to develop a deeper understanding, to pursue him? Am I pursuing him? Am I worshiping him? And then if you look for me wholeheartedly, you will find me. Meaning, to me, it's like, hey, man, you got to be intentional. Mm-hmm. You really have to be intentional. And then I will be found by you. So that's one of my favorite verses. There's a lot of other good ones, but for me, that's what I like.
All right. The Spaniard 75. How can I effectively manage my team when faced with competing strategic goals within the company? For instance, balancing the priorities of supply chain and operations in inventory management against those related to revenue generation.
It's a good one. So this
is a good one.
My buddy Christian, one of my old black belts at Peak MMA.
Is he the Spaniard?
He is the Spaniard.
Does he have Spanish from Spain and Spanish from Mexico, which we're we got a lot of.
His is from Spain.
It's from Spain. So does he have a little bit of the Spanish lisp whenever he's speaking? Because when you hear when you hear Spaniards say gracias, it's more like gracias, and it's a little more flowy whenever they say it, right?
I want to call them right now.
Yeah,
I'm
like
hey,
and
can
figure
you
it out.
say some things?
Right? Because like when I went to Spain, I was listening to them say stuff, and they were like, "A la cuenta," like they needed to check, and I was like, "What is these people speak a really pretty version of Spanish?" Where like mostly what I'm used to here in Texas is the guys are, because they're so used to speaking Spanish and English that it's got a little bit of that. It's a little bit rougher around. They lost some of the beauty and the accent. So yeah. So just next time you're talking to him, just ask him, be like, "Hey, can you say gracias?"
I'm going to call him. I'm going to call him after this episode
and see what he does. All
All right.
cool.
How can I effectively manage my team when faced with competing strategic goals within the company?
Yeah.
All right. So if there truly is competing strategic goals within the company, that's a problem.
That's a serious issue.
It means that we do not have alignment. So for me, if I'm in that leadership position trying to manage my team, I need to get alignment with the other departments, and we need to climb the ladder of alignment. We talk about that echelon front. It's climbing the ladder of alignment through asking questions. One, I'm going to assess, okay, hey, how's my relationship with this other department? That's the first thing I'm going to look at.
That's
like, how's my relationship? If I have a good relationship, I can go have a really good conversation. If I have a bad relationship, that's going to be a problem, because if I don't have a good working relationship with somebody and I go to them, they're gonna probably most likely take whatever I have to say as an attack, and or they're not going to be open and receptive to anything I have to say. So I need to focus on my relationship and make sure I have a good relationship, and then just start finding alignment with the other departments and asking, and I'm going to bring it up the chain of command as well. Because if we have legitimate competing strategic goals within the company, that is an actual problem.
Yeah.
That's the opposite of cover and move. Now, competition is a good thing, but competing strategic goals, that's a bad thing. Cover move means that we are supporting each other. We have alignment. We need to have understanding in regards to what we're trying to accomplish within the company. And, because it's like, hey, if one team fails, the whole team fails. That's a real thing. And so I'm going to be focused on getting alignment with the other departments, getting alignment with my leadership, because I also need to assume that I'm missing something. I don't have the proper information. I'm missing something from my leadership, because I know that if my leadership, and that's the other thing is, hey, what have I not communicated to my leadership? Because if my leadership was well informed, most likely my leadership's not going to want there to be competing strategic goals.
Yeah.
They want the different departments to be able to work together. So that's where I'm going to start, and I'm going to start asking earnest questions. I'm going to be doing my due diligence. I'm going to maintain that good relationship. I'm going to be leading up the chain of command, and I'm going to assume that I am missing some information, and I'm also going to assume that I caused this misalignment, and I'm going to be working on solutions to fix the problem. So that's the posture I'm gonna maintain and attack this with.
So is this a meeting? Is this a peer meeting, or is this a leader meeting? Like how do you handle that? Because I think what you're talking about
Both.
is,
so I'm gonna go talk to my leadership to get alignment from what their goals are. So
do you talk to the leadership first, or do you talk to the?
I'm talking to my leadership first.
Okay.
That I report to, and I'm gonna get alignment and say, hey, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. What is our strategic goals? Like what are we trying to accomplish? And then as they're laying those out, if it's still like, if there's no misalignment with me and my leadership, I'm going to say, hey, I need some help. Yeah. I'm not understanding something, because this other department, based off of the perception that I have for their strategic goals, there's competition. Yeah. Like, and this, we don't have alignment, and we're actually competing against each other. Is this correct?
Gotcha.
And if they're like, oh, yeah, actually it is correct, that's a problem. Okay, cool. Hey, what do I need? And I'm going to bring it back to me. I'm not going to be like, yeah, those guys are jerks. Again, that's opposite of cover move. I want to be building relationships. I don't want friction in my organization. I'm going to really have to subordinate my ego going into this conversation and bring it back on me, bring it back on me, bring it back on me. And so then I'm going to bring it back and challenging myself and say, okay, hey boss, what do we need to change? What's your advice and guidance? What are the parameters that you have for us that we need to change so that we're not sabotaging another department?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go talk with a peer to the other department and say, hey, I was reviewing the strategic goals that you guys have and that we have, and according to my perspective, based off of like the information that I have, we actually have competing strategic goals, which is not good. We don't have alignment. We're actually competing against each other. What am I seeing wrong?
Yeah.
What is wrong, like, on my end? And then I'm going to have a conversation with them, and I'm going to hope I have a really good relationship with them.
Right.
If I don't, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to build the relationship. So if I had a bad relationship with you, I'm going to say, hey, Lucas, hey, man, I know we haven't had the greatest working relationship, and I'm sorry. The reason why I'm coming to talk to you is because I actually recognize that our departments have competing strategic goals, and that's not a good thing. Like, we should be working well together, and I wanted to bring it to your attention so that you know that this was not an intentional thing. I just recognize this. I'm trying to figure out what I need to do to change within my department so that we have alignment, so that I can actually better support you. Hey, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to open up that conversation and just go from there. But I'm going to talk to my leadership first to make sure I'm not misaligned on something, to make sure I'm not looking at it or seeing it from a different view. And then I'm going to go talk to my peers. And I'm also, I'm going to go into these conversations with some ideas.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to go there and be like,
solutions.
hey, here's a problem. Here's how it impacts us. I'm going to be taking ownership and then expect you to figure this out for me. I'm going to have the solutions and or some ideas in the back of my mind before I, go address this.
Yeah. When you have those conversations on the peer level, is it better, like if you've got a good or a neutral relationship, I think going the misalignment route is, hey, we're misaligned, we seem to be competing, like that's fine. If you've got a bad relationship with somebody, is it better to take a little bit of that ownership as an admission, in the sense of like, is it better to go to say, or is it productive? I won't say is it better, right? Is it more productive if, okay, you and I are the leaders in this situation, we're conflicting, I've taken your advice, I've gone to the leadership, we don't have a good relationship. And so when I go to you and say, hey, we've got, it seems like we're competing for some things, that we're out of alignment, we're competing against some things. Is there wisdom, if you've got that bad relationship, in taking a little bit of the ownership here and saying, I think we actually might have done some things that have hurt your department?
100%. I'm taking ownership in every situation.
Yeah. So is it, if you've got a bad relationship with somebody, is that admission, like that extra piece, does that help to kind of lower some defenses and disarm them? Yeah.
When you take ownership, it tends to naturally disarm people.
Right.
This is one of the things that we teach at Echelon Front, is the framework for having a hard conversation.
Yeah.
You explain the problem, the impact, take ownership, solution, and you provide. So that's the steps, right? And the last one is implement. But one of the things that we talk about is, it doesn't matter like if what step 2 or 3 is, as long as there's ownership in there and understanding the impact. So in this situation, I was talking to Dave about this recently. Like, as I'm addressing the problem, I'm taking ownership right away.
Right.
Because when I take ownership, it disarms you. It opens your brain to what we're about to talk about. And it's the right thing.
No doubt.
I legitimately played a role in this misalignment.
Yeah.
100%. I'm not saying this just to say it. I'm saying it because I am responsible for the misalignment. I caused these problems within my department, and I want you to know that I accept the responsibility and I want to find a solution. So if I have a bad relationship with you or a neutral relationship with you, I'm taking ownership as fast as I can in that conversation to de-escalate things.
Yeah.
I don't want you thinking I'm attacking you at all.
Right.
At all. I've even I've talked about this with the team at Echelon Front. I'm like, man, there might be a time when I'm starting off a conversation where I'm like, hey, Lucas, I really appreciate you sitting down, man. Hey, I'm sorry. There's obviously some major misalignment between our departments, and I'm sorry, man. I recognize, boom. And so I'm going to start off with saying, I'm sorry. Because you might hate me, but if I start off and say, hey, man, I'm sorry, there is going to be an effect that slightly disarms you.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, hey, man, there's a big problem with our departments. We are misaligned, and that's my fault, man. I'm really sorry about it. Now, that's an extreme situation.
Sure.
That's an extreme. But, hey, at the end of the day, as long as you're taking ownership.
And it's sincere.
100.
Right.
That's exactly what I was getting to say. As long as you're taking ownership and it's sincere, ultimately it doesn't matter.
100%.
If you're using this framework that we teach at Echelon Front, it works.
Yeah, I do think that's one of the big things that people miss is that, you know, they look at it and we go, oh, you know what, we're going to find alignment on this. Hey, our departments are competing. We need to get alignment. Let's go to the leadership to get it fixed.
Sounds great, pal.
We're in competition.
No, these things are hard.
Yeah.
And they require hard conversations.
No doubt.
And sometimes the conversations can go a lot longer and a lot deeper than you thought. But keep going back to the framework. Keep taking ownership. Keep trying to solve the problems. Ask earnest questions. Tone, tact, delivery, timing, right? So when you're thinking about your communication, how's your tone? How's your tact? How's the delivery of the message? And is it the right time? Because if you're in the middle of a big project and you have a bunch of stuff going on and you're super stressed out, I'm like, hey, Lucas, I need to talk to you right now. And I'm like, hey, there's a problem with misalignment. And you're like, bro, I don't have the time for this right now because you're putting out some major fires or you got some real things going on. The timing thing is also critical because if I'm not showing you respect of your time, then that's an actual withdrawal in our leadership bank account. Then I need to be making deposits. So
Definitely. All right.
Cool.
Jess Dean Rose. What is in the fanny pack?
Well, young lady, I have my wallet. This pen. Always keep my pen just in case Lucas is like, hey, man, do you need a pen? Bro, I got a pen. I got a pen. I got a pen. I have a pen.
Like,
my wallet.
I got a pen.
Some of that little cattle coat.
You got the beef sticks yet?
No. The little cattle co chapstick.
Oh, okay.
I'm like in my brain.
Blanking
I
out.
could not. I'm like,
The beef tallow chapstick?
yeah,
nice.
dude, it's awesome. Gum,
Mm,
AirPods,
nice.
some anointing oil.
Whoa, that's smart. Yeah, just in case.
Bro.
You never know when you're going to need it.
I have these. They look like the Zen nicotine patches.
Okay.
Or pouches.
Yeah.
But they're not. It's a nootropic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You got a little pack of shrooms?
No, I think
Is this like some On It gear? Like their Shroom Tech type stuff?
it's similar to
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
called Alpha Fuel. It's nootropic energy pouches.
Huh.
And energy, memory, and focus.
Wow.
Got off of Amazon.
Does it work?
I think so. Yeah, it does.
Nice.
I don't,
How's it taste?
it's only 50 milligrams of caffeine.
That's not bad.
So here's the deal. You
Okay.
put one in and then you sip on a Discipline Go.
Yeah, and then you're
You're getting 145 milligrams of caffeine, which
There
is,
you go.
for me, it's good. It's like
Yeah.
a good little
That's
that
what
you
I'm
can put
talking
in
about.
there. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm trying to think. It is, it's just
It's little pouches. Do you put it at the top or the bottom?
usually
your
in the
mouth.
bottom.
Yeah?
And if I get bored, I might put it up in the top and
Yep.
move it around.
Yeah.
I probably
Jag
keep
around
them
with
in way longer than they're actually working. I don't know. I'm going to throw one in. You want one?
What's it look? Yeah, I'm curious about
Mango.
these.
Mango flavor.
It's a mango flavored. Huh. It does. The mango flavor hits hard and right at the front.
But good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
And then
Take a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know how
it's-
this is going to mix with my watermelon, my Wolf of Salt watermelon.
It's
but
not nicotine.
yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, and then-
well, you know what? I feel smarter.
And I got some of these Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu Be About It stickers. Yeah. Because,
Look how
if I'm
smart
at-
that pouch just made me.
if I'm at a Jiu-Jitsu tournament, or actually I was talking with a client and they were talking about the podcast and faith and Jiu-Jitsu, and he's like, I've been really instilling into my kids just working hard and just doing what you say you're going to do. And I'm like, and I gave him one of the Be About It stickers, and it was like, you would have thought I gave the guy $1,000 cash, man.
Really?
It was, so I
You
just
loved it.
I have these little Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu stickers, James 1:22.
Yep.
Be doers of the word and not hearers only. Similar to what we were talking about
Yeah,
earlier.
no
in
doubt.
that advice.
Yeah. Yeah, James has a lot of good advice in his book. Pretty solid, right? Yeah. The words of Jesus' half-brother, not so bad when you think about it.
So that's what I got in the
Yeah.
feedback.
Yeah, right
And
on.
occasionally,
This is pretty tasty.
there might be something else.
I am fighting the urge to chew it.
Don't chew
Yeah, if I figured chewing it's probably bad.
it. Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Don't chew it.
wow.
All right.
Have you ever
You know what's funny? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
A lot of people are disappointed when they think I'm carrying a gun.
Yeah.
I carry my gun appendix carry, even with the fanny pack.
Yeah.
And it makes it to where I can clip my holster to my fanny pack no matter what I'm wearing. So if I'm wearing sweats or joggers or shorts, my pistol's there. It's easy to draw, present, eliminate the threat.
Can you appendix carry when your appendix has been removed? Because I don't have an appendix, so I don't know if that's a legitimate. Like, what do I call it? Since I have no appendix,
call it belly button carry. I don't care.
Oh, nice. Oh, the navel carry.
This guy.
I got the navel carry going.
We're gonna edit this. Timestamp 3:35 p.m.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, next one.
Yeah. Okay. If we're on the next one, you know what these pouches remind me of when you pulled it out. You know what it looks like? It looks like. Do you ever use smelling salts?
No.
You never have?
No. Why would I?
All right. So, well, they're big in the weightlifting world, right?
In powerlifting, right?
Okay, in powerlifting and in strongman.
I've never done either.
Okay, and well, you got them a lot in CrossFit, right? There's some guys in CrossFit. Oh yeah,
I've never done.
That'll pull out the.
So I haven't done hardcore CrossFit. I've done CrossFit workouts. I've gone to CrossFit gyms, but I've never.
And they're big in they're big in combat sports. They're also big in contact sports.
Combat sports.
Yeah, like MMA, boxing, stuff like that. There's guys.
Oh, if you're getting knocked out, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I've never been knocked out.
Well, right, but okay, so
I'm just wondering, like, at what point in my life would I use smelling salts?
Okay, so like I use them a lot whenever I work out. Like I got a little thing of smelling salts that I'll use during my workouts, especially if I'm on like a big lift day where I know like, hey, I'm gonna do triples all day, where I'm just gonna max out and I'm gonna just keep going and going and going. Especially if I'm under 315, I don't need them. If I'm over, like part of it is just the routine. Like
it's a habit.
Yep, you hit the smelling salts, you get the little, shakes or whatever. But the pouches look like a smelling salts for work. We should crack some smelling salts on here if you've never tried them before, bro. It's amazing. I would also think those might be part of the kit. Like if something happened to you guys,
if they were, I don't know. I don't think I've ever. Now that you're saying that, it's like I'm trying to wonder.
Oh, bro, We'll have to try some. We'll try some on one of the YouTube exclusives. Okay. Give our YouTube fans something to check out. All right, TOB_MCG. In your opinion, what's the difference between a boss and a leader?
I like this question. We get this often. A boss is associated with the title.
Yeah.
And a leader has nothing to do with your title.
Right.
When we talk about leadership, it's your ability to build a relationship and influence the people around you. A leader is a human, so your ability to lead the people around you has nothing to do with your title. It has has everything to do with your ability to build a relationship, influence, instill belief, understanding of the mission, what we're trying to go out there and do. And that's why leadership makes a difference in every organization. Just because you're in a leadership position and you have a title doesn't mean you know how to lead.
This is
because
true.
Leadership is a skill set. And if you've never been properly taught how to lead, well, you're going to lead people wrong.
This is a good point.
And bosses tend to use their position of authority and use intimidation to try to get people to do stuff. That's not leadership. That's you just using your position of authority.
Okay. Long live Mid-Hat.
Yeah. I love this guy. He's probably
it's a hilarious name.
He's probably one of the most talented, I would say top 3 talented videographer editors I've ever met.
Really?
Yeah, Photoshop video editing, works for First Form.
Nice.
Is unreal.
Okay, yeah, First Form.
I saw one of his posts and I was like,
good.
What? I was like, this is unreal. And then I realized he photoshopped it.
Wow.
Oh my God. I thought it was real. So
that's pretty stellar.
It also does Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Is in the game. What leadership and life lessons has Jiu-Jitsu taught you?
That's a good question.
Man, I think, there's so many good leadership and life lessons that Jiu-Jitsu has taught me. I'm just going to start randomly putting them off.
Let's do it.
Throwing them out there as they come to mind. The first one is work hard. You have to be intentional.
Okay.
If you just show up and do Jiu-Jitsu, you're not going to get better.
That's true.
People are like, just show up. No, it's like, stop telling people that. Like that's like, if I just go to the gym, I'm going to get in better shape. No, I'm not. I actually have to put in work. With jiu-jitsu, you have to put in work. As a leader, guess what? I have to put in work. I have to be intentional with my leadership abilities. I have to be intentional with my communication. I have to be intentional with building relationships, with listening, with having empathy, with, all these things. So I have to be intentional. So with jiu-jitsu, I have to be intentional. Endurance, perseverance is important in jiu-jitsu. Today was a bad day for my jiu-jitsu. I got smashed. I couldn't breathe. I just was like feeling claustrophobic. My chest was super tight and heavy. It was super hot in the gym. I was just like, this sucks. I'm like, literally, I didn't want to be there. After my first round, I was like, I wish I could leave right now. I wish I could justify making up an excuse to leave, like a business call. Dude, I was not happy, did not want to be there. But then I got mad at myself for having those thoughts. And I said, cool, this is exactly where you're going to stay. This is what you're going to do. This is where you're going to be. And it was just not a good mental day for me. I was just like not having it. And to me, that was the whole perseverance and endurance. Like, oh, no, you're going to work through these hard times. You don't like having somebody inside control or somebody on top of you inside control that's heavy. Cool. You're going to start on your back and let them start inside control with heavy shoulder pressure from the get-go. And so it was just one of those days, man. Also jiu-jitsu has taught me the power of, not taught me, but it has reiterated the power of communication and asking questions. Yeah. If something doesn't make sense to you, or you're watching your instructor teach something, asking questions to see it from a different perspective or a different angle. Trying to teach and coach jiu-jitsu to lower belts has really taught me patience, and not because they're an idiot, but because I'm an idiot and I can't communicate properly. So patience with them and patience with myself, being self-aware of my environment. The OODA loop, that's jiu-jitsu, that's life. Being strong is a good thing. Yeah. Strength matters. You can say, oh, strength doesn't matter in jiu-jitsu. No, that's what weak people say that get submitted or can't submit stronger people. It's a fact. Yeah. Your jiu-jitsu works to a point. Yeah. Because if I'm stronger than you, I can stop your jiu-jitsu. So don't rely on strength alone. Make sure that I'm building up my skill set, right? Don't get lazy and have the disease of victory creep in and be like, oh, just because I'm strong, I can do that, right? So I'm piggybacking on what I said in regards to strength matters, which means I need to be athletic, I need to be strong, I need to have endurance, I need these things. To be good at jiu-jitsu, you need to have those things. Yeah. Properly fueling your body. And those things all go back to leadership, because fatigue makes cowards of us all. And so if I'm tired and exhausted and worn out and not doing what I should be doing as a leader, I can't properly lead my people. Yeah. So I need to have the endurance to endure hard times and to go through hard things. I need to have the ability to have the strength to, carry the burden of other people. As a leader, you're going to have to carry that burden of your team, of your leadership. And so, having that endurance is really important. And then, I look at it from another leadership aspect of, the relationships like I was talking about, and how I communicate and how I listen. And I mean, jiu-jitsu has taught me so much in life and leadership. I mean, I could keep going on, but I'm probably just going to start going in circles.
Well, it's one of those things that, I like what you brought up about the strength thing. And I've talked about this before, is that's been traditionally my biggest, I think, weakness within jiu-jitsu is that instead of allowing myself as a new white belt to be, and now like coming back still as a white belt, right? I feel like that college kid that spends 8 years to graduate is like, I'm a 5th year white belt. I'm back again.
All good.
And,
so was I.
Right. Yeah. So, but the thing is like, I can keep myself from getting into some dangerous positions with people that are technically better, but that are weaker than me, because I can just prevent them from moving in some situations. Yeah. Right.
That's good.
And It can be, but also that there is something about not putting myself in those vulnerable situations where I'm preventing myself from progressing, and I'm not being a good training partner. And that's one of the things that I've had to learn.
Well, yeah, you have that awareness though.
Yeah,
And
but
so you're
that
like,
was
cool.
there was a black belt that taught me that, and she was tiny, right? And we went, one round, and I survived. I got tapped twice, and then the next time she was like, "Okay, here's what I'm going to tell you. Like this time, don't use your strength, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's telling you how strong you are. You are really strong, and I think that's great. It's going to serve you well down the road." She's like, "This time, use your technique and not your strength."
Yeah.
And then the training, that second 5-minute round, was so different.
Yeah.
Because when I followed the instruction that she gave me, she coached me through what was happening.
Yeah.
instead of because I was like, great, she wants me to do this so she can kill me. And yeah, so like the first time, 15 seconds, I'm out. Well, the next time we start going through something, and then I'm starting to put myself in a bad position. She's like, "Okay, do you see where I've got you? This is what I'm going to do." They're like, "What's your instinct?" And I told her, and she's like, "Okay, we'll start to do it." And then she swooped around. She's like, "All right, so we're going to go back here. Now we're going to talk about what you actually need to do, what things we need to work through, and all that." So it's really beneficial even in that way to analyze what your strengths and weaknesses truly are, not the other way around. I just think that was a phenomenal point.
That's awesome.
All right, Eric Minamahata. That's as close as I think I'm going to get to that.
I think you nailed it.
All right.
Actually.
Was it hard for you to leave the military? What was
Yes.
the transition like?
Rough?
Did you have a lot of separation anxiety?
A little bit.
Any advice on how to fill the void once you are out? The clock is ticking for me. Thanks.
Find your next mission. All right, so let's elaborate on this.
Yeah, right.
I know Eric. Eric's a stud. He actually came to the very first muster that Jocko and Leif did, and back in San Diego in 2016.
Yeah.
Been listening to Jocko podcast, I think, since the very beginning episode. He's an OG trooper, as they call them, just in the game, and joined the military at an older age. And, so here's the deal. Was it hard for me to leave the military? Yes, Eric knows that. And I'm glad that he asked this question, because there's a lot of veterans that, wonder that. And it is difficult. For me, it was very hard because I was at that 12-year mark, approaching the 12-year mark, and I knew I had to make the decision. And it just, for me, it was my dream. It was literally something, it was a childhood dream that I loved doing. Mm-hmm. I was kind of good at it. I really enjoyed every day of work. And for me to leave the military, it was difficult because of how much I loved it. The transition was rough because I didn't set up myself properly. It was an emotional decision. I didn't prioritize, prepping for transition. At the time, the transition program that the military had was just complete garbage. It was a joke. It's a joke program. It doesn't actually prepare you for anything. And the SEAL team saw that.
It just prepares them to get you out.
Not even that.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. And, the military does a lot of great things. That they do not. And there's a couple foundations that are focused on the SEAL teams that actually really help people from transitioning out, which has been awesome. I actually have a buddy, Sean, that I was in the SEAL teams with. He works with a foundation that does that. And so I'm gonna have him on the podcast soon, and it'll be really cool to hear about that. And Beyond the Brotherhood is the name of it, and he does that with another buddy of mine. And so, anyways, it's just really cool what they do and how they, really help veterans and SEALs. And there's, like I said, a bunch of other ones as well out there. So for me, the transition wasn't ideal. I started doing sales at a financial company, which I was super thankful for that opportunity. One of the guys that was a part owner of the gym, him and his son trained at the MMA gym that I was training at and fighting out of. And he asked me, hey, what are you going to do when you transition out? And I was like, I don't know, man. Probably just, again, I was trying to do the whole contracting thing. And my buddy Ryan Bates was doing that. And I was trying to figure out how to do that as well. I thought I was just going to do that and, make some good money and be overseas and come back and overseas and come back, and which would not have been good for my family at all. That would have just been horrible for Amanda.
That was one of the reasons you were getting out, right? Was to spend more time with the family.
Yeah. Well, that was part of it, but also because Amanda didn't want to move to San Diego with the twins being born and Aiden being 4. And so, that was part of it. There was a blend of a few things.
Right.
And so I was going to do that, and he's like, I work at he's like, I'm an owner of this company. This is what we do. I'm always, I'm in charge of sales, always looking for, someone to do that. And I didn't have any real sales background, but he knew that I was a hard worker and coachable and teachable. And so we were just talking, and he's like, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And so we started the conversation, and then I was like, oh, this might be something. And I actually interviewed and put together, and I took that interview super serious, and it was awesome. I did very well in the interview, and I was very prepared, and got hired on, and that's and so that part was good because I took that serious, like I did everything in the SEAL teams. Separation anxiety for sure, because I missed the guys, and you still had guys that were deploying overseas and getting injured and killed, and the training and not being a part of that and feeling like I should have been there. I should have been a part of these things, and had that a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of guilt, a little bit of depression. Missing that void was massive that the SEAL teams had a part of me, and so that created the void that needed to be filled. And I didn't feel it with understanding like, hey, I needed a new mission, and the mission that I needed had to have been one of service, because that's the way I'm wired.
Right.
That's not the case for everybody, but most veterans and or people in our first responder and law enforcement community, when they get out, they tend to most of the time be wired to want to be able to provide service to people. That's why you join the military. That's why you go into law enforcement and fire, because to be of service to your community and your nation. And now all of a sudden you're out and you're just doing some job. Well, it doesn't provide that fulfillment. There's no mission. There's a void. And that's why depression creeps in. That's why people commit suicide, because there is no mission. They don't have purpose. Their testosterone levels are all jacked up. And when, here's a deal. Here's a real fact. Most of the people in our military, law enforcement, and first responder community, their testosterone levels are tanked.
Yeah.
They're tanked because of the environment and the work-life balance of just stress and sleep, lack of sleep, and all of these things just tank your testosterone for the most part. Not everybody, for the most part. So now when you combine that with a sense of, I don't provide value anymore,
with a sense of purposelessness,
and I don't have a purpose, that's when that depression creeps in, and that's when the suicide thoughts start to creep in, and people just like, that's what happens. There's a lot of other thoughts that I have on that. We can dive into it deeper. Tony Cowden, who was on our podcast before, him and I have been texting about this recently. He was like, hey man, are we going about this the wrong way? Like, I think, just anyway, so a lot of thoughts I have on that. So for me, once I found like a new mission and understood that it wasn't about me, it's about providing for my family and supporting my family and being able to show up and be in a good mood and do the right thing, then that helped,
Yeah, for sure.
And so the clock is ticking. Get to work now. Get to work now. Be default aggressive. Come up with a plan. Work through the plan. Have some contingency plans in place, and get to work. Don't wait until the very end. Do not wait. Start working on something now.
I got kind of a follow up to this one that I'm curious about. So I got a cousin who's an E7, and he retired. Was an Army. Was a mortarman.
Nice.
Just absolute stud. I say he's my cousin. He's my cousin-in-law. He's my cousin's husband.
Okay.
She is struggling because she lost. Well, he's kind of digging retirement a little bit, and he's working through all these things, finding his purpose, and all of that stuff. She's struggling with the loss of community because she's not part of that military wives group anymore. The neighbors that she has are now people that they don't know what they went through. They don't care. They're not looking at all the green bags lined up together and all saying farewell and promising to call each other whenever things are happening and all of that. How did Amanda handle that transition, knowing that she wasn't going to be part of that sort of sorority of military wives? Was that a struggle for her?
No, she came out at the very end, and
Okay.
she was in Mississippi. She was never really a part of that. She was, but
Right.
it wasn't like she didn't know the other wives.
Yeah.
She wasn't in San Diego with all the other wives.
Like, it seems like Helen, Jocko's wife, she was like steeped in it. Well, and of course she had to be, because she was the,
had to be.
yeah, she was the, the wife of the task unit commander.
Yeah.
Like, that's a pretty significant role that,
Yeah,
that she
Amanda
plays.
unfortunately never got to really experience that.
Yeah.
Now, she was a part of it for sure. Like, guys knew she was my wife, and she took care of us, and would prep food for us on but she never experienced that aspect. So for her, it literally wasn't a transition at all.
Yeah.
She was in Mississippi the whole time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I do, though. I think that's an interesting thing, because I talked to my cousin a little bit, and that's a perspective I've never thought of.
it's a real thing. The
yeah,
spouses, that's part of their community. That's their
Yep.
support group. That's their friends. And,
Yeah.
that's a hard one for the wives as well.
Yeah, so that's also something to consider, is that you may not be the only one that transitions in that, and now leading your family through that big transition might be a thing to take some stock of. All right,
Really good.
Josh,
Really good perspective to share, man. Thank you.
Josh Stively,
My boy.
I want to hear a vision board session. What does the future of JP look like when the dream goals, aspirations, or what is the dream goals, aspirations, levels of impact?
Nice. The first form guy, dude's a stud. Like, his story is really cool. I've been trying to get him down here to come on the podcast.
Really?
His summer's been kind of crazy with family and work
Okay.
and everything else like that. But yeah, dude, he's a great human, man. Definitely someone you should be following on social media and putting out great content every day of just like stuff for life and work and just health. I mean, yes. And I know some of the things that they do is like actual dream boards. I don't do those. I've never done them.
Right.
Not saying anything bad on them. Those
Sure.
people that do them, because for me, it's just like a visual representation.
Yeah.
That they're like looking about, thinking about, and I guess you could say I kind of do one in a different fashion, because I don't have them up in my office right now. I'm rearranging things in the home office, and I need to put these up. But my whiteboards tend to have like my goals on there, and I do things. It's a little bit different for me,
Right.
And
So what are those? What are those goals?
Yeah, so
Governor of Texas
when you
by
look, zero chance JP Dinnell is ever involved in politics.
Okay. So more likely that we get a book than you get the gubernatorial seat.
I mean, technically, yeah, sure.
Is it? Yes, technically. So you're saying there's a chance. That's all I needed. That whole setup for me was just to issue that one line. So there
And
you
I
go.
know that was going to bring you joy. And
Thanks for allowing that. I appreciate
yeah,
it.
you're welcome. Such a jackwagon. Okay.
So you keep your goals on a whiteboard.
No, I don't know
Or
what I
you
was going to
kind of
say.
like write them on a whiteboard. Some.
Well, I have my whiteboard up that has my calendar and things that I'm looking at ahead. So I'll put important things on there. And for me, that's things I just need to be focused on. The main thing is Echelon Front.
Right.
Like, that's the main thing. That's always the main thing. And it always will be the main thing. Everything in my life revolves around Echelon Front and my family. Okay. And so for me, like, one of the things, like, Aiden's really gotten into jiu-jitsu and competing jiu-jitsu.
Which is so cool, man.
Which is awesome. He
good to see that
great in his first
transition.
tournament.
Yep.
And when you're listening to this episode, he'll be competing this, tomorrow or Sunday in the Dallas Open. And, when you're listening to this, I'll probably be, depending if you're listening to this in the evening, I'll be speaking at a men's event at this big church in Atlanta area.
Cool.
Over 800 men are coming to
Whoa.
it. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm doing a 45-minute keynote based around leadership and faith. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Preacher.
No, did you not listen to what I just said? I'm doing a Q&A session around leadership and faith.
Okay.
So That's pretty.
I'm excited to hear this
cut.
sermon.
So if I stab you on a scale of 1 to 10, are you going to be good? Are you going to pass out? Like, you'll be fine? This half-baked blade slides into your side. You're like, oh my gosh, you did
You
it.
didn't mention that as part of what you carried in your fanny pack, so.
It's in my pocket.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right.
That
So
makes sense.
what's your EDC? Gum and anointing oil? Chapstick? All right, so I'll put those things up on my calendar, on my whiteboard as these are things I just need to be thinking about. You know, we were blessed to be able to buy the house that we bought, but you know, my wife and I, we also have like land in different areas,
Right.
That you know we have, and so, okay, this is all about Echelon Front, and if I'm thinking of that, it's from like a leadership aspect. I already know what you're trying to do right now. And
No. I'm not trying to do anything.
Let me guess. You text Camden.
Yep.
Go get my gym bag, and in your gym bag is smelling salts.
It's my
and
smelling
you
salts,
want me
right?
to try smelling salts on the
What
podcast.
what I am showing you is if you
How accurate am I on that assessment?
You're
when you
100%.
brought the gym bag in, I already knew.
I'm not trying to get you to try them, but what I am saying is if you did stab me, I've got stuff right here to wake me back up so that they can get me to the hospital.
Cool.
You don't have to try them.
Okay.
You can if you want to. These are like spent though. These are pretty weak. This one right here, I need a new bottle. But they are right there.
Sorry, Josh. I promise we're going to get to your question. So when I think about things around Echelon Front, one is watching the team grow and expand has been really cool. Like watching Cody's development and Danny and other guys that work at Echelon Front that I was able to bring in through the FTX program has been awesome. You know, Carlos was brought in kind of through the FTX program. He helped with an FTX translating, and then we were growing and probably needed another instructor. Boom. You know, my buddy Matt Hasby, same thing. But just to see, Echelon Front grow and expand has been awesome.
Yeah.
And there are times, I'm not going to lie, that I'm like, man, I wish it kind of was back in the old days where it was just a super small team. But to see the growth and the expansion has been awesome. Like our marketing department, our ops team, the academy, the LDAP team, just the FTX, like it's just been so cool to see how things have been growing and expanding. It's just, I'm so lucky what I get to do. Like, a few weeks ago, we were up in Michigan working with one of our big FTX clients, and it was an LDAP. So it wasn't even an FTX, but it was an LDAP that we had, that it was a full day workshop that Corey Mize had taken lead on, and Corey Mize used to be one of our clients.
Really?
And she left that company, was doing her own thing. And Dave was like, hey man, what have you been up to? And she was like, oh, I'm doing this. And he's like, hey, why don't you come and help? This is years ago. And she is a phenomenal asset to Echelon Front.
Yeah.
And everything that she does, so getting to work with her and Steve Ward and Danny and Cody for a full day, it was.
And Meg Miller is also
awesome.
an absolute
Dude, I was
stud.
literally just going to say, and
Oh
Meg,
my
and
gosh,
Meg was the other person that was there. And Meg and I have this awesome working relationship that we've been, working on LDAPs together, and she comes and helps on FTXs and generating FTXs from LDAPs and LDAPs from FTXs. And, she works directly for Steve Ward, who is the director of all of our LDAPs, who works directly for Dave Burke. And so to see the relationship between Cody and Steve Ward as peers, like working together, like there is no conflict. There is no.
That's too cool.
It's just like straight alignment. Like, hey, how do we take FTXs to become LDAPs? How do we generate FTXs within the LDAPs?
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's freaking awesome. So I'm excited to see how that's going to grow.
Yeah.
And just to see, hey, right now, including Jocko and Life, we have 17 instructors.
Yep.
And what's it going to be like when it's 20 and 25? I don't know. Maybe. We might get there. I don't know. I don't know what the demand is going to be. But just to see these departments grow and the impact has been incredible. So that's one of the things I look forward to just being a part of and helping facilitate. Hey, the goal is like to where there is such a high demand for FTXs, the individual FTXs, where we're running one of those once a month.
That's
Every
cool.
one we do sells out, whether it's a 2-day or 1 day. The one in September sold out quick. So we have another one in November. And, it's just watching these programs grow, ultimately to have an Echelon Front training center one day where people come to us for classroom training, certification training in the leadership principles that we teach, running FTXs out of there. That's going to be awesome in Echelon Front. I really enjoy speaking at the musters, and, I hope we start doing more international musters because of the impact that we can help deliver overseas. We did one in Australia. I think we might play around with one in the UK in the next year or two, maybe.
Pretty cool.
I think there's definitely the demand. I just think logistically we have to look at like, okay, hey, if we're looking at from the amount of work that we put into it, we can go do that there, or we can do that here. From a business standpoint, which one makes more sense?
Is it cheaper just to rent a plane and just bring a bunch of people from the UK over, right?
Well, so there's a lot of just things to think about, when we're doing those things.
Sure.
And then obviously, little calico on the path growing. It's cool to watch those things grow. And they
podcast
are
growing.
the podcast as well has been really cool. What's our ranking right now?
We are we're top 75. We float between the top 25 and the top 75 in management in total.
Wow.
Right now we're top 50 in management for the year in the United States and Apple Podcasts. Top 1.5% of podcasts globally. So and we're closing in on 100,000 downloads.
Bro, that's crazy.
Which is insane
for
the first year of the podcast. Yeah,
dude, what a blessing.
Yeah,
that is
pretty
good.
Cool.
It's cool. And then that's the other aspect is helping the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu ministry grow, Walking in Truth ministry grow, leading people to Christ. Watching my kids be bolder in their faith and stronger in their faith, and it's been really cool. And I'm looking forward to see like what our daughters are going to do. Just the boldness of their faith, and for them being girls at the age of 12, almost 13, it's very impactful to me to see how they live their lives and how they work through problems and solve problems. And Aiden as well, but he's an 18-year-old man. He's not a boy anymore.
Yeah,
he's a man.
Crazy.
The dude's a man.
Yep.
And seeing him grow into a young man and what he wants to do in his life, and like there's no like, I'm like, bro, don't rush into anything. You have the rest of your life to worry about these things. Like, enjoy your summer. If you want to help out on FTXs, like the FTX team he helped out on, that wasn't me. I didn't. That was Justin's like, hey, we could use some help. What about Aiden? I'm like, you and Aiden figure that out on your own. That's like, I'm not going to be in that mix. And, Aiden helped out on FTX, and he didn't follow up with him afterwards, and he missed out on the next FTX.
Oh, wow.
And so that's a lesson that he's learning in real time. Man. And so, he's been following up with Justin and Josh on that, but that's a Justin thing. And I was like, hey, that's a Justin thing. He runs that through Cody, and you need to be following up with those guys. And
what's that like, watching the guys that you trained now manage your son and being like cool. Detached from all of that too, like letting everybody make their own mistakes and lead the team and all that stuff. I mean, you want to talk about like legitimate decentralized command as the dad, not telling him not giving him all of the insider
I know what he
information
needs to do
it,
and I'm
right?
Like,
yeah, like, nope, you got to figure this out on your own. Dude, that's impressive.
And
dude.
what better group of men would I want my
Absolutely.
son learning from?
Yeah.
And so to have that opportunity has been great.
That's wild.
I would, one of my buddies, Craig, sent me a thing on Zillow for some land up in Maine. And, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, it's Amanda. I'm like, hey. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 176 acres.
We could put a studio up there.
Dude, the price on that was affordable. I'm like, see you later, Texas. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't leave Texas yet. But,
right.
Just having like land in Maine is definitely something that I want. It's
beautiful up there, man.
Dude, it's gorgeous. Yeah. I have a 67 Camaro that sits a little 67 Camaro car that sits on my desk. Like, I want one of those one day. Like a 67, 68, 69, either 67 or 69 Camaro. I want one of those. A 72 Chevelle would be a dream car as well.
Yep.
One of
the
those.
SS.
Yes, 100%.
What color?
I don't care.
Oh, bro. See, I always wanted the tuxedo black with the white stripes.
Oh, that's epic, iconic. I was at a workshop yesterday, and I was walking by, and this guy's talking about a four-speed engine in his Chevelle, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I like backed up, and we started talking. He showed it, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was cherry red.
Oh, yeah.
With the black racing stripes.
Oh, that's
and I was
sick.
like, oh my gosh. And he's like, yeah, I sold it. I was like, oh. And his buddy was like, I bet you he knows who he sold it to. He's like, nope, it was in an auction. I'm like, oh, you sold that in an auction? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm sure you did pretty well.
Yeah.
He goes, oh yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, that would, those are materialistic things, like, which would be cool one day. But, the thing is, being able to grow as a leader at Echelon Front, improving my decentralized command skills of just really empowering my team to make decisions and giving them guidance and training them up, and learning from those guys and just watching the team grow and just thinking strategically. And helping, Leif and I just with Bruiser Arms, like figuring out, okay, hey, what does that actually look like? Where does it need to go? What do we need to do with this? Going that route. And like you said, the podcast, like that's something I'm very passionate about, is growing the podcast because of the impact that we've seen it delivered.
No doubt.
And that's not because of us, but that's because of God's grace and His blessing. And His hand in the podcast has been incredible. So I think, I don't have a vision board, but I think the things that are just constant in my life, like those are the things that I focus on.
Yeah.
And I find ways to make them constant. Like when I walk into my closet, the first thing I see is that Marco's Pizza hat.
Yep.
And that's a reminder of, bro, you got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
You got a lot of work to do. And then as I turn the corner, my purple belts hang there. Like there's there. On the little hooks that holds the trident, Amanda got me like this awesome trident. You've seen it. I showed it to you. My purple belts hang right there, and that's a reminder of like, hey, if you can make jiu-jitsu a priority, go train. Because another thing, like one day, like I want to have my own gym under Formiga. I told him that recently.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And we've talked about it, but I was like, hey, one day, I know it's a ways away, but one day when I'm a black belt, I would love to have my own jiu-jitsu gym under Formiga, under you. And he goes, let's do it. He goes, I'll help you 100%. He goes, let's do it together. And I'm like, okay. So for me, those purple belts have a different meaning now.
Yeah.
Of like, and the reason why is because of Aiden's love for jiu-jitsu and our kids' love for jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, well, what if we grew a gym and he ran the gym one day? If that's something he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need him to do it, but what if that's something he really loved and he wanted to be able to do? And, because, it's a passion of his and it's a passion of our daughters. And I just love the jiu-jitsu community, and I love the impact that jiu-jitsu has in people's lives. So those purple belts hanging there have a completely different meaning now. And it's shifted in the last 30 days for me. And, and then, I have, some weapons in my closet. And those are reminders of like Bruiser Arms and to train and to make sure that I'm training and being, consistent with my training. I haven't the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I should. I need to make it a better priority. When I walk into my office, I have, my old boots and my helmet with JP on it. And that's a reminder of like, hey, make sure you're being Jocko's go-to guy and Leif's go-to guy. Like, am I being the go-to guy to Jocko, Leif, Jamie, Dave, and everybody at Echelon Front? And so for me, when I look at those things, that's a reminder. So for me, it's just a little bit different.
Yeah.
I don't, and when I sit at my desk, the flag that's on the wall directly across from me was flown on the day that Seth passed away. And Amanda had it framed, and it's on the wall directly across from me. So when I look at that, it's a reminder like, hey, am I living my life to honor him and Mikey and Mark and Ryan and Chris and all those guys, right? Brad and Aaron and JT and Scott, and just like, am I living my life to honor these guys when I see that flag there? And so my vision board isn't an actual board, but it's my life.
Yeah. And
I have put things in my life as a reminder. It's like the screens on my phone, that little widget, 536 days of no alcohol. That's what I see with a picture of my wife and I. And the picture of my wife and I is a reminder, like, am I being a good husband? And am I loving my wife? Am I honoring her? Am I fulfilling her needs? Am I taking care of her? And, so that's kind of how I have designed my vision board.
Yeah.
So
that's super cool, man.
Cool.
And you got that in that execute journal, there's the little flap that comes out that's got those, what are your quarterly goals and those kind of things too. And I've watched you, obviously Josh didn't, or they didn't ask for my perspective, but here it is anyway. I've gotten to watch you over the year that we've been doing this, or close to a year that we've been doing it, set some of those marks and hit those goals. And it's been so encouraging to me to watch you hit some of those goals and then set the next one.
Yeah.
And not like, you didn't throw the party. They're like, hey, we hit the goal. Like, we did the thing. Like, nope, we hit the goal. Then it was great. It's a good feeling to hit there. I've already got the next one set. That, like, as you're approaching it, you're thinking about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I got to say that as a friend of yours and getting to watch those things happen, that motivates me to do the same thing, to start thinking about that with, my family, with the things that are going on at my church, with, obviously God's church, but that, he's put me in charge.
The church that you pastor.
Yeah, right. And with our podcast, and like, what are the things that are next? What are we wanting to do? And I mean, it's just been so encouraging to get to see that and to watch how all of these things play out, and then also to kind of get to be part of some of those things.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
It's pretty neat to see, man. So
good.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing all that, because it's cool to get to see all the way around.
That's cool, man. Thank you. All right, what do you got?
Well, there are a couple of things. First, we've talked about Meg Miller a few times.
Okay.
I'm going to read Meg's bio, and I would like for you to kind of elaborate on what she has meant as a member of the team, because I don't know that everybody understands just kind of what a beast Meg Miller actually is. All right. Yeah. So Meg Miller spent time coaching the Brown University team, the women's lacrosse team, from 2004 to 2016. She worked in the business office and was the head lacrosse coach at an independent school before joining Echelon Front team. As a coach, Meg worked with all areas of the game over the course of her coaching career, including offense, defense, and goalies. She's also served as the Bears recruiting coordinator for several years. So Brown University, some pretty smart folks running around that place, right? And on top of that, you're playing one of the most physically demanding games, and also one of the most heady that are out there. Yeah. It's a reason that they play it at all the Ivy League schools, is because it's not only is it a very physically demanding game, but you got to be mentally engaged. Your head's got to be on a swivel and everything that's going on. So she comes from that background into, Echelon Front. Like, who better and more equipped to teach some of these things than somebody who had to do it with not only new students every year coming into Brown, but also on the recruiting, side of things, talking to parents about why their kids need to do this. Like, what a completely well-rounded, just beast of a leader.
So what's cool about Meg is she was hired at Echelon Front she wasn't hired as a leadership instructor. She was hired as a program manager for the LDAP program.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But because of what we do at Echelon Front and how we do things, she has been able to transition to where she can be a leadership instructor. She can help facilitate and lead training. She is a phenomenal instructor. Same with Corey Mize. Corey Mize was not hired to be a leadership instructor. Jamie Cochran was not hired to be a leadership instructor. Jamie Cochran was hired as the first employee. She was a part-time employee for Jocko and Leif, helping book gigs and book travel.
Be an admin.
Yeah. She was literally like an executive assistant to them, an operations, and then as the company grew, she was an ops manager, and now Jamie Cochran is the chief operating officer. She's our COO and one of our senior leadership instructors. Yep. So the cool thing with Meg and Corey and Jamie is they all bring intentionality to the team.
Yeah.
And that's what, Meg is very intentional with the work that she puts in. The last week she called me and we were trying to work through some stuff, and it was, she's on the road, she's traveling, she's trying to get to a gig. It's like 7:45 at night. So 8:45 her time, she's in an airport and she's working.
Yeah.
Like most people are like, oh, it's after 5, I'm done. Or, oh, hey, I just, I can go into the office whenever I want because I have freedom. No, like if you can go to the office whenever you want, then you should go in early.
Right.
And put in the extra work. When I was doing sales, I was there before everybody else for the most part. If I could be there before everybody else, I was there and I was staying late. And Amanda was all about it. She supported that. And it's just crazy. Like when people that don't have set times to go into work, when they just go in whenever they want, it's like, bro, what are you doing? You're already getting lazy.
Yeah.
And Meg is the exact opposite of that. She's working early. She's working late. Corey's working early. She's working late. Jamie Gogger, I don't think she ever stops working. No, I'm just kidding. She has her family time. But dude, there's been times where I've called Jamie at 9 o'clock because I had something I was working on, which it was 10 o'clock her time. She's like, hey, JP, what's up? And I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. It's late. And she's like, no, what's up? What's going on? And you could hear her walking to her. She's like, all right, I'm logging on my computer. And so to me, like the honor that I've had working alongside these ladies is just the intentionality and the intensity that they bring to their tasks at hand, and they operate with passion. They're very passionate. They care. They are ultimate team players. They exemplify cover and move to the highest level. Yeah, which has been cool.
And she is one of the instructors at the upcoming Women's Assembly coming up. We got 41 days, 22 hours, 5 minutes, and however many seconds. But here's the thing. So the Women's Assembly instructors, Jamie, Meg, Corey, who you mentioned, guest speakers, Jenna Lee, and which is
Babin's cool. Wife.
Yep, from Smart Her News. Debbie Lee, founder of America's Mighty Warriors, gonna be there. Ann Montgomery, listener of the program from First In Nutrition. Here's a couple of ones that I think are pretty interesting. Leading Yourself micro interviews from Helen Willink. St. Helen's gonna be there. Iris Gardner.
Yep, Jason Gardner's wife.
Yep, and then Climbing the Corporate Ladder. Diane Preston, the COO of Jocko Fuel.
She's awesome.
Right. And then this one is pretty cool. Building Confidence from Rana Willink.
Oh, yeah.
Gonna be there. So you're getting to hear from some of those women who are like behind the men of Echelon Front. It's a pretty cool thing, man.
Yeah, and also like these women are phenomenal leaders.
Yep.
Like they're phenomenal leaders on their own for what they've done, what they do. If you're a lady that listens to our podcast and you have the ability to go to the Women's Assembly in September, you 100% should sign up for it.
Yep.
Now, there is an investment for sure that you're going to make, but I am very confident in saying you will 100% have a return on that investment.
No doubt.
Personally and professionally.
Yeah.
100% will have a return on that investment. I mean, with just the content that I know that they're going to be putting out, and then all those extra guest speakers, and I mean, it's going to be incredible.
Yeah,
last year was
I didn't
phenomenal.
even get to all the guest speakers.
Oh yeah, and some of the other guest speakers that you have on there,
the bone.
I know some of them. They're phenomenal. Yep. They're unreal. Their stories are great. You know, Amanda spoke at last year's. She was on a panel with like some of the wives, and she said it was a cool opportunity, and it just was a really impactful event that it had. And my wife is going to the assembly this year, and Cody's wife is going as well.
Nice.
A lot of the wives from Echelon Front are going to be there to support and learn and listen, and it's just going to be an unreal. I'm like, dude, why? I think you guys need security.
Yeah,
I want to be there. But actually, while this is going on, I'll be deep in the woods of Idaho on a backpacking trip with some of the guys from my church. Yeah,
right on, man.
Yeah, so all right, man.
Very cool.
Anything else?
Yeah.
To close it out with?
Last question from me as we round this one out. What are you most looking forward to at Immersion Camp? We talked about Jiu-Jitsu. You are doing some instructing for the law enforcement Immersion Camp this year.
Yeah.
But you're getting ready to go to Origins Immersion Camp.
Yeah.
This is second. Is this your second year as a purple belt going to that, or your third year as a purple belt going to that?
I think third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you most looking forward to there? Also, Birdman sent me a friend request.
Oh, sweet.
It freaking made my day. I saw that come across there. It was like, you got a friend request from. I was like,
Screenshot.
Holy smokes! Yeah, this is too cool.
No, he's I'm just the high level jiu-jitsu is
Yeah,
just
for sure.
unreal from all the different instructors.
Yep.
But also for me, I'm really looking forward to just the people, the conversations that I get to have there, just talking with people, and people will come up and they'll have questions like this, like leadership questions and life questions, and just being able to sit and talk, at night, sitting around the campfire and just talking about leadership and life and just having really good conversations. And, dude, man, camp is such a good time.
Yeah.
The day that everyone goes to the factory tour, that's a lot of fun. Being able to see that and see all the different factories and do that tour. I'm really looking forward to the law enforcement camp, not because I'm teaching, but just to be with all these awesome law enforcement individuals from across our nation, and being able to also every night I'm doing a 1 hour block of Echelon Front leadership instruction for the first responders.
That's cool.
And at the end they'll be getting a certificate from Echelon Front upon completion.
Very cool.
And so just to be able to be a part of that and then teach a little combatives is going to be pretty freaking cool, man.
Yeah, it'll be stellar.
So the people are incredible, and I'm really looking forward to it.
All right. This is not a question. This is a statement.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to read our latest review from Apple Podcasts. This is from the James Schaefer, titled NCC for Life. Great podcast. I appreciate you guys taking the time, energy, and sacrifice putting together great episodes. I also appreciate your families for the sacrifice for you guys to make the time to do these. The podcast is touching so many lives, including mine. Look forward to listening and watching them as they become available. Also, thanks. I'm excited for the merch drop, NCC for Life.
That's awesome.
There you go. Thanks, James Schaefer.
I know you have a few graphics you played with. I'm playing with a few as well,
Yeah.
and Josh's as well for the NCC. So we're going to, on the path printing, we're going to start printing off some NCC shirts.
Stoked about it.
We'll be able to sell them. I just got to figure out which website it's going to run through.
Show up at the muster whenever I get my beard trimmed with that. Yeah.
All right. With that, we are raising money for America's Mighty Warriors.
Yep.
That foundation that Mama Lee started. Mark Lee was in Charlie Platoon, and tasking the Bruiser was killed on August 2nd, 2006 on our deployment to Ramadi. And his mom, Debbie Lee, is a phenomenal, amazing woman. She is an angel here on earth, and she started a foundation called America's Mighty Warriors, where it helps veterans and their families and the Gold Star families get support and treatment that is needed. And a lot of times they provide support that veterans need, treatments that veterans need that our government does not provide, that the VA does not provide, but Mama Lee does. And America's Mighty Warriors stepped in to that void, and we are big supporters of them. And so we're going to raise. So if you go to americasmightywarriors.org, you can donate. And if you, in the notes of the donation, if you just say JP podcast or JP Dinnell podcast or shaving Lucas's beard or Lucas's grooming standards, doesn't matter. And you donate, once we hit 5,000, it's gone.
It's gone.
We're going to shave it.
Yep.
He's going to get an Echelon Front grooming standard haircut and shave. And so it's going to be awesome. And we're going to be able to, that money's going to Mama Lee and her foundation, which it goes back to our veterans and their families. And our friends at First in Nutrition, Jonathan and Ann Montgomery, for anybody that donates over, $100?
We'll say $100, yeah.
Anybody that donates over $100, they will also receive from First in Nutrition 4 weeks of coaching.
Yeah.
From Jonathan and Ann
who is speaking at the ladies at the women's assembly.
You'll receive 4 weeks of free First in Nutrition coaching through their program, which is freaking incredible. They're awesome humans. So you're gonna, there's gonna be multiple things that benefit you. One,
and Jonathan's a black belt under Birdman now, isn't he? He just got his black belt. And I think that's the primary gym that they train at, isn't it?
I can't confirm that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yes, he did get his black belt.
He just got his black belt. Yeah.
I do know that they do train with Birdman.
Yeah.
Often, I don't know if it's under Birdman.
All right. I'll have to check that lineage.
Yeah. I mean, dude, if you're a black belt underbird, man, that's pretty gangster. It's like being a black belt under for me one day. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yarp.
Anyways, so yeah, hey, go to americasmightywarriors.org. Donate. You can donate any amount, but if you donate over $100, then you'll get access to your 4 free weeks of training, guidance, coaching for all your nutrition needs, which is the transformations. Like our buddy Lauren, what he's been able to do, has been unreal. So anyways, I'll close it out with some final thoughts, but I just want to thank all of you guys for the support you guys have given us by listening, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Make sure you guys are subscribed to us on YouTube so you can be notified when our YouTube exclusive episodes come out. Make sure you guys are following us on social media. If you want to, you can. I am at JP Dinnell, 2 N's, 2 L's. Lucas is at Lucas Pinkard, LucasPinkard. Make sure you're also following Echelon Front at Echelon Front on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter X. If you want to learn more about what we do at Echelon Front, about any of the upcoming events, go to echelonfront.com. We have Muster 20 coming up in October here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. FTX 14 is sold out, but FTX 15 is going to be in November. Also, the Women's Assembly that we talked about is in September, so you can go sign up for those events. Also, if you want any of the instructors at Echelon Front to come work with you and or your company and or your agency, we got you covered. Go to echelonfront.com. And if you want to, make sure you check out Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu _USA. It's a ministry that I'm a part of with Isaac, Stephen, and Josh. We have a podcast where episodes come out every Tuesday. We're doing live events about every 4 to 6 weeks. There's also a discipleship program that Isaac just started about every 4 to 6 weeks, offsetting the events. At the events, we open up with a free Jiu-Jitsu seminar. Someone shares their testimony, and then we open it up for open mat and some great training. I'm a partner of a Texas beef company called Little Cattle Co.
Get that beef.
Yeah, dog.
New packaging.
Oh, yeah. New processor, new packaging.
Pretty awesome. Looking for those beef sticks coming out.
I think we'll have those in about 2 weeks. So when this episode drops, about 2 weeks after that, we should have the beef sticks available online. That's my alibi. Our website is littlecattle.co. We can deliver anywhere in the lower 48 states. We are a custom order beef company that allows you to order exactly what you want each time based off the needs of you and or your family.
A la carte.
We also have a ground beef subscription plan that is pretty popular. I know you're on the 20-pound month.
I am. I just got the new packaging. It's handsome.
Dude, it's awesome, right?
It's nice, yeah.
Just the vacuum seal, the packaging.
And it's way easier to open. So much easier to open.
Yeah, everything's better.
Yeah.
We just launched our new beef tallow products, include the body butter, tallow cream, lip balm. The feedback we've been getting is incredible. Also, that chapstick I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to send your customers and or clients a custom order of beef and or any of our beef tallow products, we got you covered. We'll include a custom note. We've actually had customers send us letters and notes to add into the package that we're delivering to their friends and their families. Cool. It's really cool. Custom way just to show somebody, hey, you know what? Thinking about you. I care about you.
I give a crap.
Yep. Also partner with a printing company called On the Path Printing. On Instagram, we are at On the Path Printing. Josh and I started that company. Just send us a message on Instagram and let us know what your apparel printing needs are. We'll get you taken care of.
You featured some On the Path printing stuff here. You've not said that that's directly where it's from, but some cool stuff.
Yeah, the Effort shirt.
The Effort shirt. Yep. Also the skeleton.
Oh
yeah.
Was
that one that you guys printed?
No. Yeah, it is. But Josh was wearing that. On
Josh was wearing
Jiu-Jitsu.
that on JJJ. Okay. Yeah. Right
on. Also partner with Leif and Jocko and a company called Bruiser Arms. I know I talked about it earlier. You can check us out on Instagram. We're at Bruiser Arms. Leif and I are putting out some content very soon, some training videos, some training opportunities, and or the ability to get some custom gear packages. We have that ability right now. So if you want to order a custom gun box from Bruiser Arms, it's very similar to the setup that we carried in Tascana Bruiser and
Super cool.
What we carry now and what we would recommend. There's been some pretty cool orders that have gone out.
Yeah.
Some pretty cool people.
The King ordered something.
He did.
Pretty dope.
He did. Also want to thank Origin and Jocko Fuel for all the support they have given over the years that I've known them. Just what they're doing is absolutely incredible. It's an inspiration to see what Pete and Amanda Roberts has done with Origin and Jocko Fuel, and obviously the partnership with Brian Littlefield as he came in to help with Jocko Fuel, and Jocko as he came in to be a part of that. It was actually Origin Labs before Jocko Fuel.
Yeah.
Brian Littlefield is like the mad scientist for all that
Nice.
stuff.
Origin's got that new Burr gear going right now that they just released.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
So I was talking
you
with
were wearing
Brent.
one of the prototype shirts.
Yeah.
I got to feel it and I was like, all right. Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll ever wear another rash guard.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I love Origin's Comfort Fit rash guards. But
Yeah,
with that
great.
new Burr shirt,
Yeah.
so after jiu-jitsu, I took it off and I showed it to Brent. I'm like, dude, check that out. He's like, it's cold. I'm like, yeah. He goes, that's not from your sweat. I'm like, no, because my sweat, if it was in something else, it's going to be warm.
Yep.
It was cold.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So why would I'm just,
That's an uncomfortable amount of science that went into that garment.
dude, it's crazy. I told him, I'm like, hey, I have the long sleeve hoodie. I have the short sleeve, the long sleeve, and 2 of the long sleeve hoodies. Yeah. I told him when I was doing my lawn work a few weeks ago, not the time that I went shirtless, because I wanted to get some sun and test the tallow for after sun care. Like, cool, I'm going to get burnt. Let's see what it does. Which, by the way, it worked incredible.
Yeah, I mean, as you do. That's how I spent my summer days, too. Like, I'm just going to get burnt.
And test these
rub
products.
beef fat on me and see how it does.
I mean, it worked well.
Effective, that's what counts, right? Be your own guinea pig.
Yeah, why not? So, anyways, I told Brant, I was like, I just, long sleeve, throw on the hoodie and, like, block the sun. It's like, it has, like, it's like a 50 SPF protection.
Yeah.
And it was cooling. So when I was sweating, it was cooling. It was
That sounds exactly like what I need. That's how I need to just live my life during the summer, especially now with these 45-minute outside workouts that I got to do.
Oh, you're starting 75 hard
75
tomorrow.
hard starts tomorrow. But I got to say, still, I don't mind the 45-minute outdoor workout.
Blah, blah, blah. The pitcher. Shut up. Nobody cares.
Punch Andy for selling
Nobody
his face.
cares.
When we have him on here, I'm just going to sock him right in his scar, tell him that's what it is.
And he's just going to smile at you.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Anyways.
I'll kiss him and make it better.
Awesome gear. 100% American-made gear.
That's what I'm talking about.
100% American.
With Texas cotton
gear.
West Texas
Jiu-Jitsu gear, rash guards, the best gis literally in the world.
Aiden's
Factual.
hand-me-down gis, really nice. That's my favorite part about Aiden becoming a man is that I'm getting his hand-me-down gis.
Oh, man. The jeans, the boots, the pants, the belt, the wallet, the hoodies, the beanies, like everything. Like all the Jocko Fuel products, the clean energy drinks, the hydrates.
We just need
the mulks,
the underwears.
RTDs.
They've got the compression stuff. Yeah.
If they can, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
If they can figure out the non-compression, then I'll be...
That'd be rad.
I'll be happy. Yeah, and the Mulk still through the end of, I think through August 27th. If you go to a 7-Eleven in Texas, the Mulk are buy one, get one for $1 at all the 7-Elevens in Texas. So stock up on them because that's the cheapest you're going to find them anywhere. And it shows 7-Eleven that they made a good choice by giving Jocko some shelf space. You want to see more of that stuff accessible. That's the way we do it. We got to go support the team, man.
I like it. So go to originusa.com, go to jockofuel.com to check out the products and just show them some support. And also a great way that you guys have been supporting us, but you can continue to support us is when you share the episode. When you share it on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter X, add a link that people can actually click. So if you're putting it on Instagram, awesome. Thank you. Share it to your story.
Yep. Put that little
click
link
the
in
little
there.
3 dots. Click on the link. Copy paste the link in there so people can do. That's huge for us. Also, something that I know a few people have been doing and it's awesome. Copy, paste, send it as a text message and say, hey, check out this episode. Here's what I got from the episode. Let me know your thoughts.
Tell your friend.
Yeah, if you could do that, that would be huge. That would be huge. But anyways, if you don't, we still appreciate you guys listening.
We'll tag all the people whose questions we answered. We'll tag them in this one, so that way we make sure. So if they don't share it,
there we go.
Then they're not really your friend, and we're never going to answer one of their questions ever again.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, just closing thoughts is going back to what we talked about at the very beginning. You can make excuses or you can make things happen. You can't do both. So go out there, be a man or woman of action. Do what you say you're going to do. Follow through with it and go out there and find a way to serve others. So I hope this episode has been a reminder to go do the work that is needed and to never settle. This has been the JP Dinnell Podcast, episode 45.